What's up everybody, it's Tari314 here. In today's tutorial, I'm showing you how to change sound fonts or use more than one sound font per playback device in Coolsoft Virtual MIDI Synth. Virtual MIDI Synth, Falcsoft MIDI Player, and many other sound fonts players with the ability to load multiple sound fonts at once. You have the freedom of layering many random small sound fonts on top of one another. But in this tutorial, we are going to focus on layering two sound fonts, a primary and a secondary. The primary sound font is your main sound bank. You'll typically use it for most instruments. However, you might find some instruments don't sound quite right or are missing entirely. This often happens when a MIDI file calls for a specific sound not included in your primary sound font, such as certain sound effects from Yamaha's XG standard. That's where the secondary sound font comes in. It contains either better versions of specific instruments you want to replace or additional instruments missing from your primary sound font. Sound font chaining provides you two key benefits: replacing or substituting existing instruments and adding missing instruments. Let's go through a demonstration of replacing an existing instrument. First, let's take a listen to my primary sound font. In this example, I'm using the classic Roland sound bank used in the GS wavetable. And now I want to focus just on my piano a bit. So this piano right here sounds okay, but I'm sorry, it's not great at all. And I'm planning to replace just this tone with another one of a higher quality. So as my secondary sound font, I'm selecting this, Orpheus version 1 by Virtuon. And it features a fully fledged stereo recording of a Steinway D grand piano. Now that I have simply loaded it to the bottommost position of the sound font chain, where my secondary sound font has got the highest priority, let's see what kind of difference had it made to the previous track. Now my goal here is to just replace the piano, i.e. keep everything else as they were. Right now I'm left with a completely unfamiliar power drum kit as well. So how can I not affect the rest of presets? For that, let's enter the Edit Sound Font Properties dialog for this sound font. In here we have every possible detail of the selected sound font, in this case our secondary sound font. Below that we have three boxes. The first field reads Preset, and it has a default value of -1. -1 allows every preset to be used. If you change this first value to anything else, you're isolating just a single preset, and that is what we want from here. My goal is to have just the first piano preset, so I'm changing this -1 to 0. By the way, as long as we keep -1 in the first box, we are able to offset the sound font's presets into different banks, and this can allow us to use multiple sound fonts in parallel to each other. But as we are selecting a single preset, then the second box is helping us to locate a preset of a different bank instead, meaning that we cannot offset a single preset into different positions. Didn't work. What did I do wrong? Let's go through the mixer real quick. Okay, so I suddenly selected the wrong preset. It says Bright Acoustic Piano, which is not 0 but 1. Nothing to worry. In this manner, we can even load the single sound font over and over again. Even though Virtual MIDI Synth preloads sound fonts to the system RAM by default, it does not preload the same sound font twice. And luckily, I have a duplicate of the same piano for the Bright Acoustic Piano's position. And there the test goes for one last time. So like that, you can use the secondary sound font to improve the sound by substituting a specific instrument or two of your primary sound font. And now let's go through the demonstration of how to fill in the blanks of your primary sound font. We'll first take a listen to this MIDI file. So in case if it doesn't make any sense, here we have some scenario of a random crowd celebrating the ring of some telephone, and then a police helicopter shows out of nowhere to probably put an end to this mass hysteria. But Ghostbusters deal with ghosts who creep into your house in stormy nights and scares the hell out of you, and then you are calling for help. The sole culprit for this incident is Capitol-Tone Fallback, because your sound font currently does not have the correct patches to emulate that SFX pattern. Filling in the gaps is much simpler. All you need to do is keep your primary sound font one step below of your secondary sound font. No parameter editing is required for this. So here goes the final playback test. So that's how you can use the secondary sound font to fill in all possible blanks and ensure all instruments called for in a MIDI file are present. Please note that this will only fill up blank presets and not blank keys. In other words, sound font players do not mix presets. For example, if your primary sound font has got only 40 basic sounds in its drum kits but your secondary sound font has 70, you will still miss out on the additional 30 percussion instruments. In case if you encounter drastic differences in leveling or volume, you can change the volume level of each sound font by going through the volume box in Edit Sound Font Properties dialog. However, you are out of luck if their pitch or tuning doesn't match in addition. So that's all about chaining multiple sound fonts in Virtual MIDI Synth. I hope this helped. Try it out and you can make your music sound even better. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. This is Tari314 signing off.